It is a true pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you today as we embark on this journey together, not only across the seas, but also back through time to the height of one of the most remarkable civilizations in human history, the Roman Empire. A civilization that has not only shaped the course of Western history, but also left an indelible mark on the very fabric of our modern world. In our time together, we will explore the origins of Rome, its stunning art and architecture, and the enduring cultural contributions that have woven Rome's influence into the very fabric of modern Western civilization. Together, we shall uncover how Rome's blend of power and creativity left an indelible mark on history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this journey, not only across the Mediterranean, but also back through the centuries to one of the most fascinating civilizations in history, the Roman Empire. The slide highlights the civilizations that were significant for different lengths of time in the Mediterranean. These ancient civilizations played pivotal roles in shaping the Mediterranean world before 500 AD through both conflict and cooperation, trade, and cultural exchange. Each contributed to the region's political, economic, and cultural development in distinct ways. The Mesopotamians, especially the Sumerians and later the Babylonians, although geographically more distant from the Mediterranean Sea, interacted indirectly with the region through long-distance trade routes. Mesopotamia's position as a cradle of civilization enabled it to influence the Mediterranean world through the exchange of goods, ideas, and technology. The ziggurat of Ur, for example, symbolized the religious and cultural prowess of this region, while trade with Mediterranean cultures spread products like textiles, metals, and agricultural knowledge. The Egyptians, centered around the Nile, were a dominant power in the eastern Mediterranean, particularly during the New Kingdom, 16th to 11th centuries BC, and the Ptolemaic dynasty, 305 to 30 BC. Egypt's wealth in grain, gold, and other resources made it a significant player in Mediterranean politics and trade. Greece, particularly during the height of the classical period, established colonies all around the Mediterranean, from the coastlines of Asia Minor to southern Italy, Magna Graecia. The Greeks controlled parts of the Mediterranean through seafaring prowess, establishing influential city-states such as Athens, Sparta, and Corinth. Greek interaction with Egypt, Persia, and later Rome helped shape intellectual, political, and cultural trends. After the conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC, the Mediterranean became a space for widespread Greek culture, Hellenization, especially under the Hellenistic kingdoms in places like Egypt and the Levant. The Romans were the dominant power in the Mediterranean after the Punic Wars, 264 to 146 BC, which saw them defeat Carthage and gain control of vast territories. The Mediterranean, which they called Mare Nostrum, RC, became a Roman lake as they extended their control from North Africa to Spain, France, Greece, and Egypt. Rome's military might, administrative efficiency, and engineering feats, such as roads, aqueducts, and fortified ports, allowed them to maintain a cohesive empire across the Mediterranean. Rome also absorbed and integrated the cultural elements of the Greeks and Egyptians, creating a hybrid Greco-Roman culture that defined the ancient world. So how did Rome succeed in developing such a vast empire and build the legacy of the Romans upon the Western world? Well, as the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. Prosody. The background behind this proverb is central to the understanding to the era of the Roman Empire, given that this lasted centuries to form and evolve. The Roman Kingdom, 753 to 509 BC, marked the early phase of Roman history, characterized by monarchical rule and the foundation of Rome's social and political institutions. The Roman Republic, 509–27 BC, eventually saw the establishment of a complex system of governance with elected officials, while the Roman Empire, 27 BC to 476 AD, represents the period of imperial rule, marked by expansive territorial conquests and the consolidation of Roman power across the Mediterranean world. The early Roman kingdom began in the 8th century BC in the area of modern Rome. Myth has it that the city was founded by twin Etruscan brothers, Romulus and Remus, who were abandoned by their parents in a basket on the river Tiber and brought up by a she-wolf, as represented by the picture on top of this slide. The kingdom was essentially a city-state that flourished until the 6th century BC. The legend of Romulus and Remus serve as a symbolic narrative that reflects Rome's cultural and political ideals, rather than a literal historical account. The kingdom was overthrown in 59 BC to be replaced by a Roman Republic that lasted half a millennium to 27 BC. The Republic was governed by a series of powerful consuls backed by a senate and magistrates. During this time, Rome aggressively expanded its territory and gained control of a vast area around the Mediterranean. Decisions to invade and conquer were largely made by the people, the elected officials in the Senate. While the period we know today as the Roman Empire was from 27 BC to 475 AD, when Emperor Romulus Augustus c. 461 to c. 507 AD was overthrown by the Germanic king Odoacer, bringing to an end almost a millennium of uninterrupted rule by Rome. It was during this time that Rome's military might conquered and controlled a vast area of Western Europe to North Africa and the Middle East. Throughout this last period, some say Rome's most glorious, the collective decision-making of a government was replaced the absolute power of one man, the emperor. The vast empire extended from Iberia in the west to modern Syria in the east, and from Hadrian's Wall in the north to the coastal region of North Africa in the south. At its height, in about 100 BC, Rome was the largest city in the world, and from it was governed an empire of an estimated 4 to 5 million people across an area that now is represented by over 40 modern-day countries. So how do we know about the Romans? These diverse sources combine to give us a detailed understanding of the Roman Empire, allowing us to piece together the vast and complex history of this influential civilization. Archaeological evidence, such as the remains of Roman buildings, roads, aqueducts, and other infrastructure, provide tangible evidence of Roman engineering and urban planning. However, additionally, artifacts such as coins, pottery, tools, and everyday items reveal much about daily life, trade, and the economy. Stone inscriptions, including epitaphs, dedications, and public decrees, are vital sources of historical information. They help us understand Roman laws, public works, and the individuals who shaped Roman history. While Roman art, including sculptures, mosaics, and frescoes, not only showcases their artistic achievements, but also provides visual documentation of historical events, religious practices, and social customs. In order to understand where the Romans came from, or who lived in central Italy prior to Roman dominance, we need to turn to the Etruscans, who inhabited an area to the north of Rome in what is modern-day Tuscany. This advanced civilization ruled over a network of 12 cities, the Etruscan League, whose wealth was derived from the natural resources and minerals of the region, but also through extensive trade. The Etruscans played a pivotal role in shaping the early Roman state, contributing to its religion, political institutions, military practices, engineering, and cultural life, laying the foundations for what would become the Roman Republic and later the Roman Empire. Extra, although there is no consensus on which cities were in the League, the following list may be close to the mark: Arretium, Caesarea, Clevsin, Curtin, Perusna, Popluna, Tarquina, Vetluna, Volterra, Velsna, and Velch. Historical context: Greek influence. But it wasn't only Etruscan building designs and innovation that influenced the Romans. Roughly at the same time as the founding of Rome in the 8th century BC, Greek city-states in the southern and eastern Mediterranean were flourishing. As agricultural land was sparse, places like Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and others began as trading partners, each carving out their own identity after 800 BC. While the Romans looked largely to the west for new territory to conquer, the Greeks turned mostly eastward, while also settling parts of southern Italy and Sicily. This allowed for a considerable cultural interface and influence over the early Roman Republic. In fact, Greek culture provided the Romans with a rich intellectual, artistic, as well as philosophical heritage that deeply influenced many aspects of Roman civilization. The Romans admired and adopted many elements of Greek culture, blending them with their own traditions to create a unique and enduring legacy. Adoption of Greek styles, Roman art and architecture were heavily influenced by Greek aesthetics. The Romans adopted Greek architectural orders, Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian, and incorporated them into their buildings, temples, and public spaces. Iconic structures such as the Pantheon and the Colosseum showcase these influences. Realism and idealism. Greek sculpture, known for its emphasis on realism and the idealized human form, inspired Roman sculptors. Romans often created copies of famous Greek statues, and their portraiture, while more realistic, retained the Greek focus on idealism and beauty. Scientific knowledge. The Romans inherited much of their scientific knowledge from the Greeks. Greek advancements in fields such as astronomy, mathematics, and engineering were studied and further developed by Roman scholars. Medicine. Greek physicians like Hippocrates and later Galen had a significant influence on Roman medicine. Galen's works became authoritative texts in Roman medical practice, and his theories dominated Western medicine for centuries. Greek language. Greek was widely spoken and understood in the Roman Empire, particularly in the eastern provinces. Educated Romans often spoke Greek, and many philosophical and scientific works were written in Greek. The Romans admired Greek culture and adopted many elements of it, blending them with their own traditions to create a unique and enduring legacy that shaped the Western world for centuries. Eventually, the synthesis of Greek and Roman ideas and practices became the foundation of Western civilization, with the Roman Empire serving as a powerful conduit for the transmission of Greek culture across Europe and the Mediterranean. Let us now discuss the institutions and the important infrastructure of the Roman Empire. Before an examination of the Roman Empire's success, an understanding of the city of Rome itself is essential. Ancient Rome's urban design provides an insight into its citizens' daily life, and this architect's model, shown on screen, highlights elements of the city's enlightened civic structures. Rome's prolonged success was built on a foundation of unbeatable military strength, excellent infrastructure, stable government, and the rule of law. It was these factors that guaranteed prosperity and security for Roman citizens for almost 1,000 years. Ancient Rome was a city full of beautiful buildings, underpinned by excellent infrastructure, with public spaces adorned with the monuments, statues, and triumphal arches of a powerful international state. Its architectural legacy is that of a model society. The city exudes the confidence of what now would be identified as a global power, reflecting the political, civic, economic, and cultural life of an advanced civilization. Institutions. All of Rome's political, social, legislative, and commercial history revolved around the Forum, a low-lying, swampy valley between the Palatine and Capitoline hills. Historically, the Forum has played two important roles, one mythic and one real. On the one hand, it is the mythical place where warring tribes laid down their arms under Romulus and Remus in the 8th century BC, laying the foundation for the early Roman kingdom. On the other hand, it is also the actual site of Rome's earliest construction. In 600 BC, the area was drained by Etruscan king Tarquinius Priscus, who built the Cloaca Maxima. This marvel of early engineering cuts through the site of the Roman Forum and is still in use today. For the next 1,100 years, the Forum was the political, religious, social, and economic center of Rome. By the late imperial period of the 2nd to 5th centuries AD, it was the beating heart of the empire. Starting out as a marketplace, it became a hub of public life, the nucleus of business activity, and the focal point of legislative power. A visit to the ruins today provides an insight into the socio-economic structures that underpinned 1,100 years of Roman rule. Key surviving monuments document the priorities of Rome's leaders and her citizens. The temple was the center of religious activity. One of several shrines surrounding the Forum, the Temple of Saturn, is considered to be the oldest, first constructed in 498 BC. The Basilica, a unique building in Rome, had multiple uses. It was an entertainment complex, commercial center, and government office, as well as a hub of social activity over the centuries. Triumphal arches and statues became a feature of the Forum as successive emperors celebrated important military battles. The public spaces and meeting places originally brought all Rome's citizens together, but over time, even with the ongoing expansions and extensions of the Forum, the empire would outgrow the space. New, even grander imperial fora, public spaces surrounded by majestic buildings, sprang up across Rome as testaments to the continuing power of successive emperors. Institutions. Senate. At the heart of the forum was the Curia, a meeting place and repository of executive power, where the Roman Senate deliberated and passed laws. Originally a group of 100 nobles chosen by King Romulus, the Senate was the king's council and legislative body. However, its structure and power fluctuated over the centuries. At its height, over 500 senators met in the Curia to pass laws, appoint officials, confirm ambassadors, decide on the appropriation of funds, and declare war or peace. However, Rome was never a true democracy. After the fall of the monarchy in 509 BC, prosody rate percent, the new Roman Republic was still largely governed by the descendants of great families, the patricians. This select group alone could hold public office and control the state. The vast majority of ordinary people, the plebeians, had no political authority and remained in poverty. Yet, they provided the manpower for Rome's massive military machine. The instability of this two-class system eventually came to a head in 494 BC with a successful strike by plebeians who refused to go to war on behalf of the state. As a result, a council of the people, the Concilium Plebis, was established to give ordinary people a say in politics. Thus, the ordinary citizens of Rome finally had a say in their own government, giving meaning to the famous motto, Senatus Populusque Romanus. Its literal translation, the Senate and the people of Rome, has come to be interpreted as an early expression of democracy, emphasizing that the Senate's relationship with the people of Rome is one of public service. As such, the motto is alive today and the emblem of the modern city of Rome. The Republic itself collapsed in 27 BC as a result of continuing internal political tensions. The limited democracy of the Republic disappeared, making way for a new era of totalitarian leadership. The Roman Empire. The slide emphasizes the critical role of the Roman army in the success and longevity of the Roman Empire. Here's an explanation. The strength of the Roman Empire, its remarkable expansion across vast territories, and its ability to maintain control within these territories were all closely tied to the power and effectiveness of its military. The Roman army was not only a formidable fighting force, but also a highly organized and disciplined institution that played a central role in Roman society and governance. Military might and expansion. The Roman army was instrumental in the empire's expansion, conquering territories across Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. Its well-trained legions, advanced tactics, and superior equipment allowed Rome to defeat many of its adversaries and incorporate their lands into the empire. This expansion brought wealth, resources, and new peoples under Roman control, contributing to the empire's economic and cultural strength. The Roman Empire's history is marked by numerous significant wars and conflicts that played crucial roles in its expansion, consolidation of power, and eventual decline. The slide shows some of the most important wars in Roman history, which I won't be discussing, but it's important to note that the outcomes of these conflicts had lasting impacts on the empire and on the course of Western history. The Roman Empire's strength, its ability to expand, and its capacity to maintain control within its borders are all closely linked to the enduring power of its army. The period of empire, from 27 BC to 476 AD, is often seen as Rome's golden era. Famously documented by the English historian Edward Gibbon, 1737-94, the story of the Roman Empire follows a glorious trajectory of expansion as successive emperors conquered foreign lands. However, the eventual decay and decline would set in as the empire overreached its capacities overseas, with conflict and corruption undermining its structures at home. Julius Caesar, 100 BC to 44 BC, dominated the years just prior to the collapse of the Republic. Consolidating power, he fought and won the Gallic Wars that allowed him to cross the Rhine and begin the invasion of the British Isles. He eventually declared himself Dictator Perpetuo, a position he held for only 2 months before his assassination in the Senate in 44 BC. Claudius, 10 BC, 54 AD, was a nation builder, leaving a legacy of improved roads, bridges, and aqueducts. He was also a warrior, leading the conquest of Britain and an expansion into North Africa. Nero, 37 AD to 68 AD, his rule was one of corruption, debauchery, and the persecution of Christians until his death by suicide. Perhaps his most enduring legacy is his passion for music, leading to the apocryphal story of his playing his violin while Rome burned. Trajan, 53 AD to 117 AD, was named by Gibbon as one of Rome's 5 good emperors. Known for his superb administrative skills, he left a legacy of public works, reshaping Rome with the new forum, market, and magnificent column named after him. Constantine the Great, 272 AD to 337 AD, was known as the first Christian emperor. He united a divided empire, and with the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, legalized Christianity for the first time. In total, there were 88 emperors, and out of these 88, only 22 died from natural causes. So that's saying something, right? Infrastructure. Roads. How did Rome succeed to expand beyond her city-state? First, the empire's advanced engineering and construction skills allowed for a network of 50,000 miles of roads. Well-maintained roads allow contact with those conquered, essentially allowing the Romans to keep order. Well-drained, arrow-straight roads meant soldiers from the Roman legion could walk 25 miles in a day. A well-managed series of road markers and post houses allowed for swift communication, and the long-lasting combination of dirt, gravel, and granite or lava brick has meant that many of these roads still survive today. This excellent road network also permitted Rome to deploy what is considered to be the world's first rapid reaction military force, bringing her superior soldiers quickly to outlying regions. This, combined with an advanced logistics and supply chain, kept problems under control, no matter how distant from the center of the empire. The Roman Empire was renowned for its advanced infrastructure and engineering, which laid the foundation for modern urban development. Aqueducts, such as the Aqua Appia and Aqua Claudia in Rome, were vital for transporting fresh water over long distances, ensuring the city's water supply. Roman engineers built impressive bridges using stone and concrete, such as the Ponte Milvio, while the use of the arch provided structural strength and allowed for more extensive spans. Romans pioneered the barrel vault, an extended arch, seen in structures like the Basilica of Maxentius, and the groin vault, the intersection of 2 barrel vaults, used in the baths of Caracalla to create large, open interior spaces. The example of a barrel vault on this slide is medieval, not Roman. A good Roman example would be the Basilica of Maxentius and Constantine in the Forum. The ceiling of Santa Maria degli Angeli in Rome is an original Roman groin vault. Additionally, the Cloaca Maxima, one of the earliest sewage systems, helped manage wastewater, demonstrating Rome's commitment to public sanitation and urban hygiene, which contributed to the health and organization of the populous city. These innovations made Roman infrastructure highly efficient and enduring, with many elements still visible today. Daily life. The daily life in the Roman Empire varied greatly depending on social class, wealth, and location, but it was shaped by a few common elements across the empire. Wealthy Romans lived in large, elegant homes, domus, in cities or on vast estates in the countryside, villa, enjoying luxuries such as running water, private baths, and fine food. The majority of Romans, however, lived in crowded apartment buildings, insular, with more modest conditions. Daily life, education. Education in the early Roman Republic was based on the pater familias system, where the father or senior family member was responsible for teaching children. Later in the Republic and early Roman Empire, the Romans adopted Greek teaching methods. Wealthy families employed a Greek tutor, often a Greek slave, for what was largely homeschooling. Older students were often sent to Greece to complete their learning. Mathematics was taught using the abacus, while reading and writing were taught at first using a stylus and wax tablet. Eventually, the student would graduate to using a quill and papyrus. Paper, although a Chinese invention, was not readily known or in use here in ancient Roman times. Only a few students would progress to the last level of education, coaching in oratory and rhetoric conducted by a special teacher. The practice of rhetoric, adopted from Greece, was the final level of education reserved for young men destined for politics or the legal professions. Trade and commerce were vital to the Roman Empire's economy and contributed significantly to its expansion and prosperity. The Romans developed an extensive and sophisticated trade network that spanned across Europe, North Africa, and the Near East, connecting regions through land and sea routes. Goods such as grain, olive oil, wine, and metals were traded across the empire, with key commercial hubs like Rome, Alexandria, and Carthage serving as major centers of exchange. Rome's extensive road system and the construction of ports and harbors, like Ostia, facilitated the movement of goods. Trade routes, such as the Silk Road, brought luxury items like silk, spices, and gems from Asia to Roman markets, while Roman exports, including glass, pottery, and metalwork, were in high demand across the empire. The use of a standardized currency, Roman coins, helped streamline trade and commerce throughout the vast territory. The wealth generated through trade not only sustained Rome's economy, but also contributed to its cultural and architectural grandeur, funding monumental projects and ensuring the flow of essential goods, particularly to Rome's urban population. Trade also fostered cultural exchange, spreading Roman customs and ideas across its provinces and integrating diverse regions into a unified economy. Glass as status symbols changed as the method of glassblowing meant thinner vessels could be created much more quickly and more cost-effectively over previous techniques. By the middle of the 1st CAD, glass objects were readily available for a wide variety of industrial, domestic, and funerary uses. The Romans even used glass for window panes, their first appearance anywhere in the world. In time, Roman glass objects were created at various sites throughout the empire, as resources and power sources dictated. Moreover, Roman glass was traded, even found in archaeological sites as far away as China as early as the 1st CAD. Daily life, slavery. Roman society could not have functioned without slaves, who made up to 40% of the Italian population. Slaves came from all across the empire, often captured in battle and sent to Rome. Once bought, a slave was a slave for life, unless he or she could earn their freedom. The children of slaves automatically became slaves. Although around half of all slaves were employed in agriculture, they were not just domestic and manual laborers. High-status slaves were physicians, accountants, teachers, and secretaries to the nobility. Greek slaves in particular were highly regarded. A prominent family might employ hundreds of slaves in a large urban household or rural villa. Slaves could earn their freedom through a complex process called manumission, after which they could become Roman citizens with the right to vote. Manumission, the formal or legal release from servitude, could occur by purchased slave saves money to buy his freedom. By owner's will. Slaves could be freed at the discretion of their owner, often as a reward for loyal service. Manumission might also be granted upon the death of the owner, who would stipulate the freedom of certain slaves in their will. Daily life. Gladiators. Free public entertainment was at the heart of imperial Rome, a fact famously decried by the poet Juvenal in the 1st century AD with his phrase, bread and circuses, describing the use of free games to appease the general public. Rome's Colosseum could host 50,000 people at its regular spectacles of animal fights, feeding Christians to the lions, and, perhaps most popular, gladiatorial fights. Gladiators usually fought to the death, but an intervention from the emperor, if he was in attendance, could save a gladiator's life. Gladiators were the working-class heroes of the Roman world. Early combatants were often slaves or criminals, brought to the arena in chains. Later in the empire, gladiator schools were formed to train free men who were lured by the thrill and fame of combat. Daily lives. Bathing in Rome was a communal affair and took place in public baths or thermae. Rome's largest public baths, the Thermae Diocletiani, could hold up to 3,000 bathers. This was not only a place to bathe, but also for conducting business and socializing. Entry costs were a very reasonable 2 denarii, the smallest denomination of coin in Rome. The strigil, shown upper center, is a tool used by athletes and bathers for scraping the oil, dirt, and sweat off one's skin. This metal, curved blade instrument has been discovered in tombs along with a small vial of oil. Commoners would have used a strigil themselves, while the wealthy would have involved their slaves. Early Roman baths had separate facilities for men and women, but by the 1st century AD, mixed bathing was common. Affluent Romans brought slaves to attend to their bathing, so there were usually 3 entrances, one for men, for women, and for slaves. Complex hydraulic and heating systems were installed to take water from local aqueducts. Rome's Caracalla baths were renowned as the most sumptuous in the empire and even included two libraries, one Greek and one Roman. The baths themselves would follow a prescribed layout. This would include a frigidarium, cold water pool, followed by a tepidarium, warm water pool, and a coldarium, hot water pool. A laconium or dry room allowed for cooling down. A public swimming pool or natatio would offer outdoor swimming. Public entertainment was provided in a palastra or wrestling ring. Where possible, baths were built on the site of geothermal springs, as is the case of the city of Bath in southern England, known to the Romans by its name Aqua Sulis. Architecture. Among the Roman Empire's great achievements are the architectural monuments. All the structure you see in this slide are located in Rome, with the exception of the Pont du Gard, a Roman architectural masterpiece located in the south of France. The Pont du Gard is a renowned Roman aqueduct bridge built in the 1st century AD and spans the Gardon River as part of a 50 kilometers, 31-mile aqueduct system. This three-tiered structure stands as a testament to Roman engineering prowess, showcasing precision in stone arch construction, and has been listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1985. The Pont du Gard is celebrated for its architectural grandeur and historical significance. Moving on to Rome, the Pantheon is considered an architectural marvel due to its innovative design, engineering, and enduring beauty. Completed around 128 AD, during Emperor Hadrian's reign, its most striking feature is the massive concrete dome, which was the largest in the world for over a millennium, and remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome to this day. The dome's oculus, a 27-foot wide opening at its center, that may be seen on the right upper corner of the slide, not only allows natural light to flood the interior, but also reduces the weight of the structure. The building's harmonious proportions, perfect symmetry, and use of the Corinthian order. The Corinthian order is one of the three classical orders of ancient Greek and Roman architecture, reflect a mastery of classical architectural principles. Additionally, the Pantheon's blend of Greek temple design with Roman engineering techniques, particularly its use of arches and concrete, makes it a testament to Roman ingenuity and their ability to push the boundaries of construction. Its durability and continuous use for nearly 2,000 years further solidify its status as one of the greatest architectural achievements of the ancient world. Extra. The Corinthian order in Roman architecture was not just functional, but symbolic, representing the empire's wealth, artistic prowess, and dedication to maintaining the classical traditions inherited from the Greeks, while elevating them with even more intricate and ornate designs. Now let's discuss the last two remaining landmarks. The Arch of Titus and the Colosseum are considered architectural marvels for their innovative engineering, historical significance, and enduring beauty, each representing different aspects of Roman architectural mastery. The Arch of Titus was built in 81 AD to commemorate Emperor Titus' victories, particularly the Siege of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The Arch of Titus is a triumphal arch that celebrates Roman military power and imperial glory. Its design influenced many later triumphal arches, including the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, demonstrating its enduring legacy in monumental architecture. Last but not least is the Colosseum. Completed in 80 AD, the Colosseum is an amphitheatre capable of holding around 50,000 to 80,000 spectators, a staggering size for its time. Its use of concrete and the systematic organization of arches allowed for its unprecedented scale and structural integrity. As the center for gladiatorial games and public spectacles, the Colosseum was both a technological as well as cultural marvel, serving as a symbol of Roman power and the grandeur of the empire. The Arch of Titus and the Colosseum are architectural marvels because of their advanced engineering, aesthetic design, and profound historical and cultural impact. Both structures demonstrate the Romans' ability to combine functionality with monumental grandeur, leaving a lasting legacy on the world of architecture. Like Roman architecture, Roman sculpture, too, takes its cue from their ancient Greek ancestors in many ways. The Romans copied Greek works, many of which were cast in bronze. Many of these were melted down during times of war. Therefore, the lost Greek works are only known today through their Roman marble copies. Unlike most Greek sculpture that celebrated gods and goddesses from mythology, Roman works are more commonly used for grand, often symbolic, and sometimes propagandistic purposes. 3 examples are shown here. First, a sarcophagus of the 3rd CBC, shown upper left, depicting a common theme for burial chambers, the labors of Hercules. The lively portrayal of men, actively engaged and demonstrating power and authority, is an update of a frieze on the Parthenon in Athens some 200 years earlier. The second example shows how sculpture is also used to celebrate living emperors. The Roman Senate commissioned this ara pacis, showing a panel in the lower left of slide, an altar symbolizing the peace and prosperity associated with the reign of Emperor Caesar Augustus. Recall, Augustus was the first Roman emperor in 27 BC, after the turbulent civil wars and strife of the late Roman Republic years. The entire ara pacis, depicted above, has been reassembled and now protected from the elements and on display in Rome. The panel shown in the slide, lower left, Tellus Mater, or Mother Earth, celebrates the goddess of the earth, Tellus, and her fecundity. She is often depicted with a cornucopia or bunches of fruit or flowers. It is just one of many details of relief sculpture decorating the sides of this famous Roman work. The Ara Pacis Augustae, Altar of Augustan Peace, is a monumental altar in Rome, dedicated in 9 BC to commemorate the peace and prosperity brought to the Roman Empire under Emperor Augustus. It symbolizes the Pax Romana, a period of relative peace throughout the empire. The altar is richly adorned with relief sculptures, which depict both mythological scenes and historical events, blending Roman religious tradition with imperial propaganda. The friezes on the outer walls include detailed processions of figures, likely representing members of the imperial family, priests, and Roman citizens, emphasizing unity, religious piety, and the stability of Augustus's reign. Notable mythological scenes include Aeneas sacrificing to the gods, reinforcing Augustus's claimed lineage from the hero Aeneas, and a depiction of the goddess Tellus, representing fertility and the bounty of peace. The Ara Pacis is both a masterpiece of Roman sculpture and a powerful symbol of Augustan ideology, conveying the emperor's message of divine favor, prosperity, and the peaceful flourishing of the Roman state. It stands today as a testament to the political and cultural achievements of the Augustan era. Finally, we see how the Greek god Zeus is appropriated to symbolize the power of Augustus, shown right. In the role of imperator, he is the commander-in-chief with military breastplate, heralding his successes on the battlefront. Depicted in the guise of a 5th C Greek sculpture, he is the personification of the ideal male, with the perfect anatomy, musculature, and proportions of a Greek god. Like Roman architecture, Roman sculpture, too, takes its cue from their ancient Greek ancestors in many ways. The Romans copied Greek works, many of which were cast in bronze. Many of these were melted down during times of war. Therefore, the lost Greek works are only known today through their Roman marble copies. Unlike most Greek sculpture that celebrated gods and goddesses from mythology, Roman works are more commonly used for grand, often symbolic, and sometimes propagandistic purposes. 3 examples are shown here. On the upper left of this slide is a sarcophagus of the 3rd C BC, depicting a common theme for burial chambers, the labors of Hercules. The lively portrayal of men, actively engaged and demonstrating power and authority, is an update of a frieze on the Parthenon in Athens some 200 years earlier. The second example shows how sculpture is also used to celebrate living emperors. The Roman Senate commissioned this ara pacis, showing a panel in the lower left of slide, an altar symbolizing the peace and prosperity associated with the reign of Emperor Caesar Augustus. Augustus was the first Roman emperor in 27 BC after the turbulent civil wars and strife of the late Roman Republic years. The entire Ara Pacis has been reassembled and now protected from the elements and on display in Rome. The panel shown in the slide, lower left, Tellus Mater, or Mother Earth, celebrates the goddess of the earth, Tellus, and her fecundity. She is often depicted with a cornucopia, or bunches of fruit or flowers. It is just one of many details of relief sculpture decorating the sides of this famous Roman work. Finally, we see how the Greek god Zeus is appropriated to symbolize the power of Augustus, shown right. In the role of imperator, He is the commander-in-chief with military breastplate, heralding his successes on the battlefront. Depicted in the guise of a 5th-C Greek sculpture, he is the personification of the ideal male, with the perfect anatomy, musculature, and proportions of a Greek god. Pompeii is incredibly important for historians studying the Roman Empire because it provides an exceptionally well-preserved snapshot of daily life, frozen in time by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. When Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD, it buried Pompeii under a thick layer of volcanic ash and pumice, which preserved the city remarkably well. Unlike many other ancient sites that have deteriorated over time or were rebuilt, Pompeii provides a unique snapshot of Roman daily life, frozen at the moment of the disaster. The sudden burial protected buildings, frescoes, mosaics, inscriptions, tools, and even food, offering unparalleled insights into Roman culture, architecture, and society. Hence, Pompeii provides an extraordinarily detailed look into the lives of ordinary Romans, which is often missing from historical texts that tend to focus on elites. In this slide we see the Greco-Roman design for the temple-like building. What makes this example so unique? The Temple of Apollo in Pompeii is one of the city's most significant and oldest religious structures, showcasing the influence of Greek and Roman architecture and religion. Its importance lies in its reflection of Pompeii's religious life and cultural exchanges, as Apollo, originally a Greek deity, became a central figure in Roman worship. The temple's layout, surrounded by columns and a central altar, offers insights into Roman religious practices, rituals, and the architectural styles of the time. As part of Pompeii's archaeological heritage, the Temple of Apollo helps historians understand the role of religion in daily life and how the Romans adopted and adapted Greek gods and traditions within their own culture. Pompeii is famous for its well-preserved frescoes, mosaics, and sculptures, many of which were found in homes, public buildings, and baths. These artworks offer invaluable information about Roman artistic styles, religious practices, and even fashion. The detailed frescoes also reveal scenes from Roman mythology, daily life, and popular entertainment like gladiatorial combat. The marine life mosaic found in Pompeii is a vivid and intricate depiction of sea creatures, showcasing the Romans' fascination with the natural world, particularly marine life. Mosaics like this were often used to decorate the floors or walls of wealthy Roman homes, reflecting the owner's status and taste. The sea and marine imagery were common in Roman art, often symbolizing abundance, fertility, and the connection to the gods, particularly Neptune, Poseidon, the god of the sea. The mosaic also demonstrates the Romans' advanced skills in creating detailed naturalistic artwork using small pieces of colored stone and glass, known as tesserae. In Pompeii, such mosaics contributed to the opulent aesthetic of homes, while also reflecting the cultural significance of the sea in Roman trade and mythology. The murals in the Villa dei Misteri, Villa of the Mysteries, dating from the 1st century AD, are some of the most famous and well-preserved frescoes from ancient Pompeii. Located just outside the city walls, the villa is renowned for its large, vividly colored frescoes that depict scenes associated with the mystery cult of Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, and religious ecstasy. These murals are significant because they provide rare insights into secretive religious rituals, particularly those connected to initiation rites for Dionysus. The central room features a series of life-sized figures arranged in a dramatic, continuous narrative, portraying an initiation ceremony involving dancing, music, and symbolic acts. The imagery, filled with mythological figures, enigmatic gestures, and symbolic objects, reflects the profound religious and psychological experiences of the participants. Art historians value these frescoes for their artistic quality, featuring masterful use of color, light, and depth, as well as for their rich narrative content. The Villa dei Misteri murals offer a fascinating glimpse into both the spiritual life and the artistic sophistication of the Roman elite in the 1st century AD. The Plato's Academy mosaic is a significant artwork as it depicts a philosophical scene, likely inspired by the famous Greek philosopher Plato and his school of thought, the Academy. This mosaic shows a group of men, possibly scholars or philosophers, engaged in deep discussion or contemplation, symbolizing intellectual discourse and the pursuit of knowledge. Its significance lies in how it reflects the Roman elite's admiration for Greek philosophy and culture. The Romans were deeply influenced by Greek thought, especially in the areas of philosophy, rhetoric, and education. By featuring such imagery in their homes, wealthy Romans demonstrated their cultural sophistication, intellect, and appreciation for Greek intellectual traditions. The mosaic not only serves as an artistic masterpiece, but also highlights the blending of Greek and Roman cultural values during the height of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire. Overview. End of the Empire. End of the Empire. At its peak, soon after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius at Pompeii, the Roman Empire would reach its zenith in terms of land occupied and the number of people under its wings. Rome's well-equipped army, advanced infrastructure, and stable politics permitted them to conquer and dominate vast swaths of Europe and the North African coast. At its height, the empire encompassed a landmass of some 2 million square miles. Historians estimate that by the 2nd century AD, some 4 to 5 million people, or 1/5 of the world's population, was governed by Rome. But inevitably, strains appeared over time, weakening Rome's hold on its territories. Internal financial difficulties grew, as the cost of constant warfare drained Rome's coffers. As well, corruption and weak leadership would take their toll. In one 75-year period, there were over 20 successive emperors. The Roman Empire has pre-imperial origins dating back to the 8th century BC, beginning as a small city-state on the Italian peninsula. Over the centuries, Rome expanded its influence through military conquests, strategic alliances, and impressive infrastructure, evolving from a monarchy to a republic and ultimately to a vast empire. By the 2nd century AD, roughly 800 years after its legendary founding, the Roman Empire reached its zenith. During this period, under the leadership of the 5 good emperors, Rome controlled a vast territory stretching from Britain in the northwest to the Middle East in the southeast. This era was marked by relative peace, economic prosperity, and significant advancements in architecture, law, and culture. A key figure in the later history of the empire was Constantine I, also known as Constantine the Great. In the early 4th century AD, Constantine implemented crucial reforms that had lasting impacts on the empire. He established Constantinople as a new Eastern capital, which became a vital center of commerce and culture. Additionally, Constantine embraced Christianity, issuing the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, which granted religious tolerance and significantly influenced the empire's religious landscape. Despite these efforts to strengthen and unify the empire, internal challenges and external pressures led to a prolonged period of decline. Over the next 3 centuries, the Roman Empire faced economic troubles, political instability, and invasions by various barbarian tribes. These factors contributed to the fragmentation of the once unified empire into smaller, less centralized parts. Ultimately, in 476 AD, the Western Roman Empire collapsed when the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. This event marked the end of ancient Rome as a unified political entity, although the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive for nearly another 1,000 years. The remarkable success of the Roman Empire can be attributed to a combination of factors, both inherited from earlier civilizations, most notably the Etruscans and Greeks, and through the Romans' own mastery of detail and the ingenuity of their engineers and designers. The empire's expansion and maintenance of vast territories were made possible by their sophisticated infrastructure. The Romans built extensive networks of roads, aqueducts, and civic structures, utilizing architectural innovations such as the arch and barrel vaults, and notably concrete, a material that revolutionized construction and is still fundamental to modern building. In addition to physical infrastructure, the Romans created an enduring political system. Initially governed by a senate, the Roman state eventually shifted to an imperial system, with the emperor overseeing law and order across lands inhabited by millions. This political and administrative framework allowed the empire to sustain itself for centuries. The legacy of Roman architecture and art extends well beyond antiquity. Even today, the classical elements of Roman design are evident in the civic grandeur of modern buildings like the US Capitol and the US Supreme Court, which unmistakably draw upon Roman architectural principles, themselves originally inspired by the Greeks. Roman cultural influence extends into more subtle aspects of our lives. Use of Latin language continues to be the foundation of many academic disciplines, especially in law, medicine, and scientific classification. E.g., the names of all plants and animals are classified with their respective Latin name. Perhaps one phrase best encapsulates the legacy of Rome, and that is, Veni vidi vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Words famously uttered by Julius Caesar after his swift victory in Asia Minor. In many ways, these words summarize the Roman approach. They were builders, organizers, and conquerors, and their legacy continues to shape the world we live in today. Thank you.